Donald Trump's FBI is in shambles over the Epstein Files, his Retribution campaign against select agents, and the messy occupation in Washington, D.C. that is straining resources. And today's breaking story reveals that a high-ranking loyalist placed there by the commander-in-chief of corruption himself is on the hot seat. Let's begin with Trump turning the FBI's culture upside down and creating a Game of Thrones climate of secrecy and mistrust. Have a listen to Jon Stewart's revealing interview with former Special Agent Michael Feinberg. In this first clip, they speak of the new leadership, which is two odd Trump sycophants with an affinity for conspiracies.
Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are deep state guys. They're the ones who are like, the deep state is a problem. When we get in there, we're going to expose the deep state. We're going to expose the Epstein Files. And then they get in there and bupkis. So what happened there?
The deep state never existed. The notion that the FBI as an institution was a hotbed of anti-Trump activity in 2015 and 2016 is pretty ludicrous. I don't think it's going to come as a shock to anybody that most FBI agents probably lean right.
I should note that Feinberg is a former agent because he was fired over his friendship with an agent who once investigated Trump. His performance record was good, but his loyalty to Trump was called into question for his personal social life. And that's just one example of the retribution that's happening and the loyalty that can be judged through any means, including polygraph tests. How's that for a hostile workplace environment? Something else I learned from the podcast are the shocking ways of how the FBI is now being misused in Washington, D.C. as Trump's foot soldiers, something they're not trained for. Have a listen, and then I'll have today's bombshell that really signals the place is in shambles.
It is not normal for FBI special agents to be doing street patrols in the District of Columbia. It's only happened once in history. That was also during the first Trump administration, during the civil unrest and protests that occurred after the death of George Floyd. This is not something FBI agents are trained to do. It's not something they have practice with. It's not something they really have a lot of legal authorities or a use of force continuum to which they can look to moderate how they act with the public. It's just not normal in the scope of American history to have them doing this.
And now for the FBI breaking news. As reported by Politico, someone at the FBI is on a very hot seat.
We learned yesterday that President Trump plans to appoint Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey to serve as deputy director of the FBI alongside Dan Bongino. The announcement comes as tensions between Bongino and Attorney General Pam Bondi continue to cause a fissure with the president's inner circle as the Epstein Files continue to agitate the MAGA base. We also learned Monday that the Department of Justice will begin to share those files with Congress this coming Friday. Dasha, we heard a lot a few days back about the supposed meeting that was taking place at the Naval Observatory under the auspices of Vice President J.D. Vance to sort through, the response to the Epstein Files. But, there's also this conflict brewing with Bongino and others. Is this sort of a resolution that maybe was brokered at that meeting that did or did not take place?
I wouldn't be surprised by that, but look, I think what the Epstein Files have done is kind of rip open a lot of those little early fractures within both the MAGA coalition and some of the characters within this administration. And there were a few weeks there where it kind of died down. It was a little bit more quiet, but as we look ahead to Congress coming back and more questions and more investigations, this is just absolutely not over.
Now, I'm not here to deliver career advice, but if you get a new job and in just a couple of months your boss tells you to share your desk with a new guy and, oh, by the way, train him on your job, your career track might be entering a dark tunnel. All of this is likely a result of Bongino's recent cryptic post, seemingly adjacent to the Epstein Files, where he pledged to uncover the truth about corruption and political weaponization via federal law enforcement that shocked him down to his core. Bongino's most recent gig before he was tapped to be deputy director of the FBI was podcaster, where he peddled in conspiracy theories and anti-establishment rhetoric. Just before he wholeheartedly joined the establishment. What could go wrong with that? Maybe his new deputy director partner can get to the bottom of that mystery. Meanwhile, we have FBI agents worried about losing their careers and pensions because of who their friends are and patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C. because Trump is using them as his personal bounty hunters instead of the elite investigative force they are. And that's very troubling because he's doing the same with the National Guard and Marines. In Trump world, the lines have been blurred and it's all just one big militia at his corrupted and authoritarian command.
I hate Occupy Democrats.